So now let's go back and then display the various images. But we know that the various images is supposed to be in a div of row. Okay, so come down here, and actually what I can actually do is, instead of just limiting this to just this, I can just indicate it right over here. So I'll indicate the div having a class of row. Class goes to row. I'm just indicating this over here, right? And then we also need to close it. So let me say string plus, and I'll use the backtext, and then we'll close this. So we are closing this particular div that we just opened. That's what we are doing. And then in there we want to, so in between this code and this string code, we want to loop if this items is not an empty array. Okay, we want to loop and then make sure that we add along this kind of input. Okay, so say for instance, if the items dot length is greater than 0, they want to implement this. So what do we want to do? We'll say over here, we are going to say, for instance, we're going to say items dot for each. Okay, so for each, let's say object, for each object we are going to loop, and in this object what are we getting? We are getting the image, so I can just do structure. Okay, so I can just do image, and then we are getting the name, and then we are getting the URL, and then we are getting the button. So for anyone that is wondering what I'm doing, you realize that inside this particular object we have the image, we have the name, we have the URL, and then we have the button. So that is what we are grabbing over here, right? So now we are just going to do string, and then we append to the string equals, we'll open this, sorry, and then I'm just going to come down here, and then I'll copy this. Okay, I'll just copy this, and then we'll change the information in there real quick. So just come here, let me indent it well. So instead of, for instance, indicating this, we are just going to remove this and then indicate the image, which is this img right here. And then over here, instead of indicating this, we are going to remove it, and then we'll indicate, for instance, the name. And here we'll indicate the URL. So indicate URL, and over here we'll just indicate the button. Okay, so this is all that we need to do to create, for instance, a template. So if we save this and we go back to our page, sorry, if we save this and then we reload our page, we get the information being displayed. Now I did mention that I'm going to explain the essence of this 0, right? For instance, the 0 that I indicated right over here. So realize that now our code looks much cleaner. Okay, our code looks much cleaner, and now I'm going to explain the essence of this 0. So for instance, let's copy it. Let's say, for instance, down the section of our page we want to implement this design again. Okay, so we want to implement this design, we want to use this template. So let me copy this, and right after this height of 30. We'll change this to, for instance, 1. Okay, and we are going to come down here, copy this, and then we'll paste it here. All right, let me close this gap, and then for instance, let's say payment options. Okay, so payment, for instance, options, right? And over here I'm going to change the name of the images. I already know the name, so these are the images, right? So this goes to 5, but this image is a JPG, so there we go. And this goes to 6. And for instance, let's change the names too. So let's make this, for instance, 17, let's say 22, for instance. Let's make this, for instance, Stripe, and let's make this, for instance, PayPal, right? And then let's say Google Pay. Okay, Google Pay, for instance. So right over here to realize that if we save and then we reload our page, what do we get? We get the information displaying as we want it to. Okay, we get the information displaying as we want it to. Let me add some padding down here. So for instance, let's save this and let's go back. If we reload, we are getting the information as we want it to, right? Everything is displaying as we want it to, and this is our template. Now with regards to the 0 and the 1, the reason why I said we need to indicate some value over here is because, for instance, what if I want to change this, okay, and I want the payment option to be the first thing that I display, and then over here, for instance, the exclusive membership to be the second thing that I display. I don't need to come to my data and then swipe. If I know how my data is being represented, I don't need to come to my data and then swipe. I can just come here and then change this to 1 and then change this to 0. So if I save this and then we go back, you realize that we are having this information displaying at the top, right? And these images and information displaying at the bottom, right? So now if we reload our page, we realize that it has changed. Now we have the payment information or the payment option being displayed at the top, and then we have the exclusive membership being displayed at the bottom. So this is how you can create, for instance, a template in vanilla JavaScript, okay, without necessarily overpopulating your code with unnecessary repetition. And as the principle go, do not repeat yourself. So I hope this tutorial is useful to you, and that whenever you are developing any project and you want to, for instance, use a template, you can always rely on vanilla JavaScript to create your template and then use it. So thank you for watching this tutorial, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye bye.